Hey guys, it's Gwyneth and welcome back to my channel. Two disclaimers, it is really windy outside, so I don't think the camera's picking it up, but if you hear like weird loud noises, it is the wind outside. My window is like right over here. Second, my neighbors actually have people over, which is weird. They like never have people over, but maybe they're on like a party or something. So they're being a little bit noisy like out in the hallway by the door, so that may also be another noise. I don't think the camera will pick it up, but if it does, that's what's going on in the background. We're going to keep this intro really short because I don't want this video to get too long, but as you saw in the title, this is a review over my whole palette collection. If you're looking to splurge in eyeshadows, I'm hoping these reviews will give you a better idea of what you want to actually spend your money on. Like I said, I'm going to keep this brief, and I'm also going to keep my comments on the palettes brief. I am gonna, explain what I need to explain, but I'm not gonna dwell too much so we can get through these. Let's go ahead and get into it so it doesn't get too long. First, let's talk about my Kat Von D collection. So I have 3 of them. The first is definitely my favorite. This is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette. So this is what the palette looks like, and the products will be listed in my description bar if you're interested in checking them out. When you look at it, it's just kind of like a meh, like very bland, but I'm surprised how much use I got out of this palette. I really like this setup because you have extremely warm and then a little more cool tone, and then here's more of your like neutral area. Also, when I go to do even like my crazy bold looks, I pull this palette, I set up my base. I like set the eyes, I do the transition, I may darken up the crease, and then I go in with my crazy colors. This is just such a great palette, and I know it may seem a little bit vanilla because of all the neutral and just kind of plain shades, but these neutral like buildable shades are what take an eye look from the more immature looks to the really detailed work you see like makeup artists doing, or like people when you look at them and they're like their eyeshadow looks so like radiant and swept. It's because they're using these to their advantage and mixing eyeshadows. So you really can get really creative with this palette and just mixing, and this is such a staple in my eyeshadow collection. Next things in my little Kat Von D collection is the Interstellar palette. This one is actually pretty cool. So here you actually do have a little bit more colors. Of course, I have always loved the Kat Von D eyeshadow formulation. The pigmentation is great, but it also is very blendable. So it is so beginner friendly. So some eyeshadows can be a bit intimidating, but if you're a beginner, you're not amazing with eyeshadow, but you want to start like learning and getting better, these are great for beginners and pros because your life is easier with more blendability, but also for beginners. I am obsessed with the packaging that Kat Von D has. So this is the Interstellar palette. I like this one. I don't pull for it as much because it is very cool tone, and I'm not as much of a cool tone fan, but I do really like the palette. Here we have the Kat Von D Monarch palette. So this is what it is looking like. This is definitely more fun colors. This one I pull towards more just because the purples in this are just out of this world. Like so gorgeous. I'm not going to take the time to swatch a bunch of this just because we'll be here all night, but I really think this is neat. If you are a purple fan, especially if you have green eyes, I'm telling you, every once in a while I'll put on some purple eyeshadow and you will be amazed with how your eyes look. You would really love this palette. I have one friend, JC, that always wears purple eyeshadow, so the second I saw this, I was like, if JC would make an eyeshadow palette, this is what she would make. But again, just the same as the other Kat Von D palettes, quality is amazing. It just depends on what color layout you want when it comes to her palettes. So the first eyeshadow palette I ever bought high-end, this is the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. This is an old eyeshadow palette. You can see that this palette has gotten a lot of love, especially that gold shade right there. It is so sunken in on the side, but I love this. I actually don't use it anymore just because I'm pretty sure it is expired. A year lifespan, and I've had it for like 3, but I just keep it because it was the first like high-end makeup I've had, and it is like very just sentimental to me, but I love this. Honestly, Urban Decay kills it with eyeshadows, and you will see that I have a lot of Urban Decay palettes because they don't disappoint. This palette is great because golds are just so wearable. I mean, their Naked 1 is wearable too. That's a little bit more neutral, whereas this one's a little bit more like gold bronze fun, but still not crazy. And then the third palette is the kind of blush colors. Those are gorgeous as well. And then we move on to the Smokey palette, which can we talk about that packaging? Let's try not to blind y'all with that mirror. But this really is such great shadows for smoky eye. I really like it. They've had this on sale, like half off, because these retail for $54, and I think they've had this half off for, I've seen it half off for months, so I think it's permanently half off. I don't think it's sold as well as they were expecting, and I think the reason why is just because it's smoky palette, and smoky eyes aren't necessarily as wearable, so I think that's why it didn't sell as well as they were hoping. But it is a great palette. I personally, when I think like to do a smoky eye, I don't think to grab my smoky eye palette, so I think that's why it doesn't get as much love, but it really does have some great shadows, and you can do a lot of beautiful looks. They look a little bit bland in the pan, but some of these colors are honestly so unique, and the formulation is great. Now, that being said, the next palette I'm going to talk about is actually a dupe for this palette, and it is the Icon palette by Absolute New York. I got it at TJ Maxx for $6.99, and it is the smoked palette. You can see it is like a straight dupe. I think there are some things that this falls a little short of. Sometimes the pigmentation isn't as nice, but sometimes in shadows comparison, some of these shadows are better than the smoky. So there's a little give and take in this, but even with this half off, even getting this for $7 is such a steal. You save 20 bucks. Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette. This is such a staple. Oh my gosh, guys, I cannot tell you enough. Still smells like chocolate. Oh my gosh, that cocoa smell is strong. But the palette, it's weird because you have a lot going on in this palette. You have like some violets and some baby pinks and maroons and golds, and then you have some cool tones, and it seems a little bit scattered, but honestly, you can do so many looks with this. It is insane. You can keep it to these neutral shades here and just have your everyday work look. This color right here, I know I said we weren't swatching, but this color right here is so good for popping in the inner corner, on the brow bone, even using as highlight. You can get into some crazier colors like these sparkly purpley blue violet shades. There's just so much you can do. I personally am always going into this shade here because I am a gold fan, so I'm always dipping into that, but honestly I get so much use out of this palette. I would definitely recommend this. Next palette, this is the Ulta Beauty palette. I love how they do a little sneak peek. It honestly reminds me to grab it, but I will be honest, I have not used this palette yet, and it's not that I don't want to. I actually look at these colors and it makes me want to dive into that green so bad. So it's not that I don't want to. I've been waiting to do a dedicated Ulta Beauty, like full face impression Ulta Beauty, so I've been saving some of my products. This is super gorgeous, but I have yet to dive into my Ulta shadows, so I don't want to give a full impression on this. Next palette in here is the Laura Lee Cat's Pajama palette. Y'all have seen this a couple times on my channel. I'm gonna beat a dead horse with this because I'm sure y'all have heard it in a million videos. Personally, I like it. I know there's a lot of debate of people like giving her a hard time, saying they don't like it, whatever. Personally, I like it. I think you can do a lot with it. I love these cranberry shades. I also love the neutral looks you can make with it. I have personally created a lot of looks with this, and I really enjoy it. And I think also with the creative packaging, it really is one that I see stands out out of all like 40 palettes. It is one that stands out and I want to grab. Despite who created it, despite your opinion about Laura Lee, I think the palette itself, the quality, the eyeshadows, it is really good. Next palette I got in my BoxyCharm. It is the Pure, I still don't know how to say this, Sonore Diaries. That is what it looks like. I really like the rose gold top right there. This is what the overall palette looks like. I like it. When you look at it at first, it's not like too inspiring, but overall it's a decent palette. I will be honest, there isn't anything that necessarily wowed me about the palette, but eyeshadows are pretty pigmented and they're blendable, and you can do some pretty nice looks with it. Nothing too crazy, but you can get a good look out of it. It's not as flashy or as eye-catching as my other favorites, but I do think it's a solid palette to invest in. I don't know why I hold on to it. Maybe it's because of the packaging, maybe because like Stefani, Gwen is just like a thing. The eyeshadows look really nice, but if we're being honest, I think I have used them maybe once. And I think when it comes down to it, it's just because I have so many other palettes, I choose more. May just need to pass it on to a sister before it expires because it doesn't get love. And I feel bad. I don't even have an opinion about the palettes. I feel like this is where it gets hard with eyeshadows because you either think, oh, it's too neutral, like the Pure palette I just talked about, like it's not fun enough. And people will also critique, oh, you have some colors in here that just aren't usable. Like, what are you thinking? I'm not gonna pay that much for that many eyeshadows I can't use. And I'm gonna be that person right now. I feel like all of this is just so bland and neutral, which, like I said, I do love palettes that come with the neutral, the transitions, the buildable colors. But I feel like some of these are just so similar. Like, there's not a big difference in that. Like, those are so, like, gray undertone, like, almost like a muddy look to them, which doesn't make me desire to put it on my eyes. So that's my thing. It's just when I look at all these neutrals, they just seem very, like, muddy. Like, just looking at the color, I'm like, that's kind of muddy. Another thing is, we have a pink sparkly shade, a blue, like, navy-ish sparkly shade, and then this is, like, I feel like this is more yellow than gold, which y'all know I love my golds, but I don't know if I'd even classify that as gold. Like, that is really, really yellow, so I don't know. It's just, like, nothing really calls to me in this palette. And the bland shades are just very, like, bland and muddy, and I think that's just why it doesn't really get a lot of love. So I wouldn't necessarily, like, recommend it, because honestly, I don't even know if her line still sells. They were kind of quick to, it seemed like this line wasn't very successful, and they were quick to just, like, discount it 50% and move on. We're getting into some of my favorite palettes now. So I really, really like these two. They're both from the Balm. The Meet Matrimony, that looks like this. And then the Meet Matte Nude. This one is nice as well, a bit more neutral. I really did get some good use out of this until I got my Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I kind of drew towards that more. But I feel like with the Balm palettes, some of their eyeshadow palettes are just like a miss, like either hit or miss. I did declutter one I got rid of like instantly, but this right here, they nailed this formula. I personally get more use out of Matrimony. I feel like there's just more to work with. Obviously, I use the maroon a lot because of my school, and maroon's just such a fun color to like twist in. If you just have kind of like a brown smoky eye, add a touch of that maroon and you'd be surprised just the more like romantic twist it brings. But also like these shades here, a perfect black, and then I love these transition shades up here. The only one I don't pull for is that baby pink. Now we're on to ColourPop shadows. We have the Yes Please palette, and then warm tones. Y'all know I love my warm tones. I really, really enjoy this palette. Only thing I don't like is the pan sizes are really small, but this is a $16 palette, so it's like, what do you expect? This is a very inspiring palette to me. I look at it and I'm excited to grab it, excited to play with it and make a look that day. So I think this is so wearable. You just have so many, like, I think these orange shades are great for the fall. This is a really, really nice fall palette, but I really do like these orange shades. I love that color. I dive a little bit into those. This maroon's really nice. This brown shade is really, really creamy. If you can tell from how it's swatched, like it really like picked up the creaminess in that. They've never had like bad eyeshadow formula ever, and they produce like such affordable palettes. Another palette I love from ColourPop is on the other side of the spectrum. It is the Femme Rose palette, or the She palette. This is the other side. It's like blush and mauve tones. It's very, very gorgeous. I'm just comparing those side by side for y'all. I think this is really nice for fall, but you do get a little bit limited with warm tone palettes, whereas this, I could see someone wearing this around the holiday times because you get these more deep shades that are very gorgeous and glittery. And then I could also see like these lighter pinks and stuff around like Valentine's Day in the spring, very soft and sweet. I like both of these a lot. This palette is the Kylie Holiday 2016 palette, and it looks like this. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've used this palette once or twice, which it just wasn't that good. I did a video over it. I used this green and I tried to do a more fun, bold color. But I don't know, and it's nothing about the palette that's bad, because honestly, it's fun colors, it's gorgeous packaging, it should call you in, it has everything to like call you in and give you ideas, but I don't know, I almost feel like this palette is a little bit much. I mean, I love that she threw in the transition shade and like a more neutral shade, but then you have like a silver, a blue, a green, gold, which is nice, very neutral, a dark grayish purple, and then like a bronzy purple. I don't know, it's just a little bit weird. And then this is like a black, but like a purpley black, like it's not a deep rich black. So I don't know. I don't think any of these colors go together, as you are gonna have to pull from other palettes to make this work. I just wasn't really impressed with the palette, so I honestly just didn't grab it anymore. Like, I just stopped and I moved on to more affordable palettes. And I know I'm gonna get crap for this, and I'm sorry if you are a huge fan of Kylie Jenner, because I like her too. I'm just not crazy about her brand. I really think her brand is overhyped and overpriced. And I'm just going to leave my comments at that. These next two palettes I am obsessed with. And you probably know it if you've been keeping up with my channel. This is the Studio Makeup On The Go eyeshadow palette. I have two of them. I got this in my BoxyCharm. So the first one I got is this one. This is the Warm Up palette. And this is my favorite palette of the two. It has gotten a lot of love. As you can see, the pans are actually dug into a good bit, which, as you see, I have a ton of palettes, so if one's getting this much love, that says a lot. Honestly, all of these shades are just so perfect for creating a look, but you are limited to a gold smoky eye with this. You're either doing something neutral or gold smoky eye, so I can understand why you wouldn't want that, but the quality of these eyeshadows are great. They're so blendable, and they're so pigmented, and by the end of the day, these eyeshadows are still so bright and vibrant on my eyes, so no complaints. 2 months later, I guess from the good feedback from this one, we got the Cool Down palette. So this is Warm Up and this is Cool Down, and the Cool Down looks like this. It's really nice and I've used it. I really like to take this. It's kind of like a silver, but it does have a hint of like purple reflex in it. I like to wear that and then build this beautiful, like the perfect purple shade in the outer corner. I've gotten so many compliments when I wear this. Like I've said a million times, I'm not a big cool tone fan, but I really appreciate this cool tone palette, and it's one of the few cool tone palettes that I've found that I'm like, ooh, I want to play with it. Like, I really want to like make a look with this. The next palette is the Winky Luxe Kitten palette, and I just received this in my BoxyCharm, so I don't really have an opinion on it yet, like a full opinion on go buy it or not. But I was really impressed with the palette. I think the layout is adorable. I only have tried this once in that BoxyCharm video, but I did notice it was pigmented, it blended well, and the colors are fun and gorgeous. So that's all I'm going to say about this palette because I don't have too much of an opinion, but yeah, and the packaging is so cute. All the little kittens. This is another one we got in BoxyCharm. If there's anything else you learned from this video, is BoxyCharm put some bomb palettes in there. This is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Volume 2 palette. So this is what the packaging looks like, and it's gold on the back and all along the rim. It comes with a really nice mirror inside. Okay, so this is what we're working with here, and they're really nice shadows. They are a bit more neutral, but it's not bad. Shadow, I will say, I don't really pull for. I'm just not a big like navy or blue eyeshadow fan. It's got to be like pretty much a baby sparkly blue. That's the only one I really touch. But all of these are really nice. Gray, I'm a little bit when it comes to gray shadows. But all of these warm tones in here, that's a beautiful gold. This is one of those perfect shimmery shades that go in the corner. You are a little bit limited with this palette. It just is kind of like neutral shades. Nothing crazy fun with it, but like I said, if you're just looking for a neutral, nice eyeshadow palette for work, this is a good one. Tarte eyeshadows, supreme too. This hands down has to be one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes, period. This is the Tarte's Pro palette. It is gorgeous packaging. Wait till y'all see this. Huge, nice mirror. It's perfect when you're on the go to just set up, do your makeup right there and move on. But look at these. I'm trying not to like, there we go. But look at those shades. That is gorgeous. It's a setup so beginner friendly. You're technically supposed to create a look across the board here. The only thing you may not like is these are not shimmers. They are like eyeshadow toppers. So they're very thin and transparent. So you just get like a slight glitter. You can add Fix Plus and do like 2 layers and it will look more like a shimmer, but you're never gonna get that thick shimmery look. So if you're looking for more of like a glittery shimmer, that's not necessarily what you want. But if you want like a really pretty eyeshadow look with some slight shimmer, more like wearable, then this is a great palette. As y'all can see, I really like to go with this row right here. I love this topper. I really love this pink. One thing I will tell you is when you put these eyeshadows on at first, they look crazy pigmented, like where you're like, oh my gosh, that pink is like fuchsia. It blends out. It blends out so much softer. With that being said, you can build it up to be more vibrant, but it blends out softer and it actually looks very smooth and very gradient. And I just love how easy it is to make a gradient eyeshadow look with this palette. This palette is the Violet Voss Laura palette. It was a promotion a while back, so I don't know, but I will talk about it because it's part of my palette collection. This is one of the best fall palettes ever. I just love it so much. I don't really go for fleeky. That is a little bit too yellow for me, but honestly I love how warm tone this is. She has so many like neutral and then these orange shades, and then these all are really nice to work with, and then she throws in those, I love this Mama Bird, Rammer Jammer, or not Rammer Jammer, sorry, Ragamuffin. Rammer Jammer's somewhere here. Right down here is Rammer Jammer, which is pretty as well. We have more Urban Decay. I will be honest, these don't get as much love. This is the Urban Decay Alice Through the Looking Glass. So bulky, because really the only thing is this. Like, this whole package is just black. And then here's actual stuff. I have used this maybe once or twice. My sister, actually, both of my sisters have it too. And they get a lot more use out of it than I do. But some of it's just so crazy. Like, I don't think I'll ever use these, like, St. Patrick's Day green colors. I mean, I guess for St. Patrick's Day. The dark blue, this bright blue, this is like magenta with sparkles, really orange. I will say they're glittery shades, like really glittery. They do have a crap ton of fallout, but their glitter shades are gorgeous. So I think this is a fun palette. I'm not saying it's a bad palette, but I don't pull for this a lot. So I will be honest with that, but I don't think you can go wrong with any Urban Decay shadows. I can't keep up with Vice 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is like the 4th. Are there even 4? I don't know. But this packaging is like to die for. It's like holographic. And I don't know if you can tell if the light's like washing it out. But it's like green and then bleeds into pink. Like it's like different colors we got going on. These are the colors we are working with. Like look at that. That is such a cool color. It's just so like unique. And I really appreciate how they step out of the box more. This definitely isn't as wearable as a palette as some of y'all may want. So keep that in mind. If you're just in the market to get some cool fun shades and really get creative, you'll enjoy this limited reloaded palette. I'm not sure, but this part's like raised, which is super gorgeous. They always kill it with the packaging. And this one's cool. It has like a button you press right here and it like pops open. Like, oh. And of course, all of them come with these eyeshadow brushes. Some people don't like them. Personally, I think they have really good brushes. This, out of the 3 I just showed you, this one is my favorite. So this is what we're working with here. This one, Oil Slick, they're just so cool. Like it's like a dark gray, but it's not your typical muddy gray. It has, oh, I lost my brush. It has so many sparkly reflexes in it. But yeah, this is a cool palette. Sometimes you are a bit limited with creating a full outlook, but they do provide a few transition shades like neutral, so you can get away with a lot more. But this is a palette that I look at and I think of like 5 different looks. So next is my Morphe collection. So I have 3 that are in the old like packaging, and then I have the Jaclyn Hill palette. Y'all have heard me talk about this. I've used this maybe like 5 times and I am wearing it today on my eyes. I've had this eye makeup on for a good bit now. It's like 9:30 right now, and I think I did my makeup at like 2 o'clock. So it's been a good few hours and it's hanging in there. I have to have a whole video on this, so I'm not going to talk too long, but if you were to get one palette in your life, like you are only ever going to purchase this one palette. You are going to repurchase it for your whole life, but only one palette. This is my #1 recommendation for you guys. Personally, I don't even watch Jaclyn Hill's videos. I don't mean that in a negative, nasty way. I just don't. I just haven't gotten around to exploring her channel. So it's not anything to do with the person who created it. I'm solely saying this based off the quality of the eyeshadows and the color arrangement. This is some awesome stuff. Like, there's just so much you get out of this palette. You have all these fun, different colors that I don't know if I'll ever get use out of, but they're there. Colors that are so neutral. All of these sparkly shades in here, I could totally see me making looks out of. There's just so much potential in this palette, and I think if you're going to invest in one eyeshadow palette, let it be this. The other Morphe palettes I have, 3502 palette. As y'all know, I'm obsessed with this palette, but you have to be a big warm tone fan to appreciate this palette. Even these dark shades, they have such a rich red undertone that if you don't want your eyes to look very like fiery, it's just probably not a good splurge for you. I get a lot of use out of it. I love when my eyes look like bold and fiery and stuff like that. If you are a warm tone fan but you don't want something as crazy as this, I'm telling you, go for this ColourPop Yes Please palette. That's $16. It's a toned down version of this, and these two are also $23 as well. So this is the Morphe 35W. This is the Morphe palette I get the least bit of use out of. This one's broken right here, which I don't care because it's a gray shade, but it may fall out when I show y'all. But I get the least use out of this just because it is a little bit more bland, but there is a lot of potential. I do love these orange shades. I use those a lot. This sparkly, like, greenish tan brown shade is really, really cool. All of these shades right here are nice, so it's not a bad palette at all. But if you can literally go on Morphe's site and you will be overwhelmed by all the different, like, I would be surprised if you didn't find a palette that was the exact color scheme you wanted. Next is, this is the Morphe 35T palette. Personally, this I get a lot more use out of than this. So there's that one. I like this. It's a lot of purples, a lot of golds. The reason this speaks to me, because I'm a huge gold fan. If you don't know that, I love warm tones and gold eyeshadow. That is my go-to shades. Purples are just great for green eyes. They're very complimentary, so it can't hurt for me to have a lot of purple eyeshadows. So the next eyeshadow palette I have in my collection is this Blink Electric Eyes palette that I got my BoxyCharm. These are really, really nice shimmery shades. If you want to pick up a palette just for shimmery shades, like you have a shade and light palette, or you have these neutral palettes, you just want a little bit of a splurge and some really fun shimmeries, this is good. You don't have anything too crazy to where you're not getting your money's worth. You don't have crazy blues or purples or yellows and orange. You have just beautiful shades of gold. You have this nice cranberry pop. You have the bronze that goes into. These light colors are so underestimated. If you pop these on the eyes, your eyes will be so open and it'll actually draw a lot of attention to your eyes. You'd be very, very surprised. The next palette is in this beautiful sleeve because it's a beautiful palette. It is the Marc Jacobs Icon No. 7 palette, so it has the 7 shades, and this is 216 the Enigma. This is a pretty palette, I will say that, but honestly, I think Marc Jacobs eyeshadows are very, very overhyped. I don't know, they were okay. Like, they weren't bad eyeshadows, and they got the job done, but I didn't look in the mirror and love my eyeshadow. Some of these palettes, I look in the mirror and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to wash my makeup off because my eyeshadow looks so good. But I just wasn't very, like, impressed. And these are so expensive, guys. For 7 eyeshadows, it's pricey. I totally buy into their packaging. Like, I love this bouginess. I love the sleekness. And I love the thought of having this beautiful thing in my collection, but I would never repurchase. Okay, so that is it for the big palettes. I have a couple little mini palettes that we're just going to talk about because some people also get great use out of mini palettes, and I consider mini palettes to be part of my eyeshadow palette collection. So the first mini eyeshadow palette is the Too Faced Chocolate Chip palette, and I got so much more use out of this than I thought I would. Chocolate Chip is the matte version of the chocolate bar palette. When I go home, like I travel home, I always take some makeup with me. I always pack this. So I would definitely recommend this. These are so cute and so useful. These are the Lorac. They're like their mini palettes, and it's tails and top hats. This one again is on the more cool tone side, but I find myself reaching for this more than I would have expected. The Lorac eyeshadows are very, very powdery and they have a lot of kick up, so that's maybe the only drawback, but the eyeshadows are very soft on the eyes. But they have like 4 or 5 of these versions of these little teeny palettes, ones that have a little bit more color to them, so just depending on your preference. My sisters got ones like this, but they were like different ones in the line, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't the tails and top hats one, but they really like it too. I see them using it all the time because, you know, I keep my eye on what other products people are using because it's just like habit at this point. I'm like, oh, what mascara are you putting on? Oh yeah, I've seen reviews on that one. That one's good. Like, alright guys, that is it. All in total, I had 42 eyeshadows, so I think I know a little bit about my eyeshadow preference and what I think is good quality and what's not. I really hope this video was helpful for you, and if you end up picking up any of these palettes, I would love to hear it. I would love to know if I helped you guys. Also, if there's palettes that aren't in my collection that you think are great, comment that down below so other people can benefit from your advice. Sorry this video is super late. We'll go ahead and end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed. I also hope you like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!